Hello friends and welcome. One of the great joys of this YouTube journey is hearing from so many fantastic women from around the world. What a warm, supportive, and wonderful community this is, and I can't tell you how grateful I am to each of you for your kindness and your support of the mission of this channel. And one of the things that's been especially delightful is your willingness to share some of your great makeup tips. And I also always love hearing your suggestions for video topics as well. So I thought it would be fun today to share some of the great tips that you've passed along to me over the past several years and to honor some of your topic requests. But before we do so, let me give a shout out and say a warm welcome to those of you who might be dropping by this channel for the very first time. As a working professional makeup artist who specializes in helping those of us who are over 50 look our very best, my mission on this channel is to help each of us see a smile in our eyes when we look in the mirror. So I love sharing makeup tips, techniques, and product information that fit our needs at this particular period of our lives. This channel is not about the latest trends and the hottest current makeup looks. It's about what works to help us look our best now. So we delve into makeup and beauty with some occasional forays into the area of fashion and wellness along the way. So if this approach sounds like a match for your interests, I do hope you'll subscribe before you leave today. Let me first share with you some of the great tips that you've been very kind to pass along to me. The first one is from Kay, and it has to do with eyebrows. She described her eyebrows as invisible and almost non-existent, which I'm sure many of us can relate to. So she uses a two-step process for her brows. First, she draws on her brows with a good quality eyeshadow, and by the way, she did specifically mention Natasha Denona eyeshadow. And then after she completes drawing them in with her eyeshadow, she takes a NYX Lift and Snatch brow tint pen in a slightly darker color and draws in individual hairs, which gives a natural 3D look. I love this combination of products, and the NYX brow pen is absolutely the best brow pen out there. And as you can see, it has an incredibly fine tip, so it really can draw in those individual brow hairs. But you have to make sure to absolutely shake this pen well before drawing them in. And the good news is that the NYX Brow Tint Pen also comes in a great shade range of 10 colors, including auburn and gray black. So you can almost be assured of finding a good color match for your brows. And if you have white and gray brow hairs sprinkled in among your brows, the shade taupe can often work extremely well. I went ahead earlier this morning and drew in some brow hairs with the NYX pen over eyeshadow so you can see how this looks. I used a color called Cushion Cut from the Gone Matte palette from Colourpop. To be sure, there is a bit of a learning curve to master drawing on individual brow hairs, but after a little practice, those drawn on brow hairs can look totally real. Since filling in our brows is a huge issue for many of us, a big thanks to Kay for sharing what works really well for her. And since we're on eyes, let me share with you a great tip for our lashes that came from Trudens. She suggests applying a coat of clear mascara over our regular mascara because it helps prevent our mascara from smudging. And there are some additional uses for clear mascara as well. Some clear mascaras can function as a brow gel to keep our brow hairs in place. And clear mascara can also function as a lash primer, which can add more volume and length to the lashes. Trudens, many thanks for this excellent tip. The third tip comes from Johanna. She not only likes bringing a small amount of blush around her eye and slightly over the eyebrow, which is a makeup technique called blush draping, but she also likes applying just a small amount of blush on the chin. Now, she describes this as a very subtle blush look that mimics how children blush. And she also commented that this technique can work especially well if you have the same coloring she has, which she describes as between ghost-like and invisible. Thank you so much, Johanna. This is really an interesting one, and I love how you've observed children to come up with this tip. I'm going to go ahead and use my Hourglass palette to do a little blush draping and apply just a touch of blush to my chin. And by the way, a fan brush like this can be a really easy way to do this technique. And a little bit on my chin. Oh, I like that. That creates some really nice symmetry for the face. Kathy's tip, which is our fourth tip, revolves around an issue that most of us can pretty much relate to: powder or foundation that settles into our fine lines. Kathy says that makeup and powder settle into her lines no matter what she does. So when this happens, she sprays some setting spray onto a dampened makeup sponge and pounces the sponge into the creases to get rid of the powder or foundation that's settled into those lines. This is a great solution. And I'm going to go ahead and take my dampened makeup sponge, spray it with a few spritzes of setting spray, and pick up makeup that's settled into some fine lines around my nose and mouth. And I'm going to be using my all-nighter setting spray from Urban Decay. And I think you'll be able to see the makeup that's settled into these lines. And that does an excellent job of picking up the makeup that settles into those fine lines. There are certainly many wonderful uses for setting spray. And I also love this fifth tip from Roz, which is a tip to help makeup not only last longer, but also to help our makeup look flawless. Roz suggests taking a dampened makeup sponge, dipping it into a small amount of loose powder, and then spritzing the sponge with setting spray before pouncing it all over the skin. I absolutely love this tip, and I'm going to go ahead and use this technique. So I put a tiny bit of powder into the top of this jar. I picked it up with my sponge, and now I'm going to spray the sponge. That creates a beautiful, flawless look. I'm going to go in close so hopefully you can see. And I want to do it on the rest of my face. Thanks so much to each of you wonderful ladies for passing along these great tips. And if you have any tips that work well for you, I would love to hear them. So please feel free to share them in the comments section below the video. Now let's go ahead and move on to some of your requested looks. And since I'm only wearing eye primer and no other eye makeup, you probably may have guessed that the requested looks revolve around eyeshadow. And you would be absolutely right. I've had several requests to do a look with the Colourpop Cabana Club palette, which I absolutely love, and other requests for looks with several of the Juvia's Place eyeshadow palettes. So I'll first create a look using the Cabana Club palette. And by the way, I'll include links to all the products that I'm using today in the description box below, which you can easily access by tapping on the word More under the video. The outer packaging of this palette is as stunning as the colors inside this palette. There are 7 matte shades and 5 shimmers, and there are 4 neutral matte shades, so it's certainly possible to create several beautiful neutral looks with this palette. But I have to say that I absolutely love the 2 colors on the bottom right, the gorgeous magenta color called Cha 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 and the deep blue color called Pool Party. These 2 colors here at the bottom right, as you can see, they've gotten quite a bit of use. I'm going to go ahead and swatch all of these colors so you can get a better sense of what they look like. This is the top row of colors. This is the second row of colors. And here's the bottom row of colors. They are beautifully pigmented. By the way, I love the look of this makeup wipe after I finish wiping it off. It's almost a work of art in itself. I'm really torn about whether to create a summery looking warmer look or to go with some of the deeper colors. But since most of us are still experiencing cold weather, let's go with the deeper tones. I'm going to go ahead and mix together the mid-tone brown in the top row called Rattan with the pinky beige called Bikini. And I'm going to use that mixture as my crease color. As I have less product on my brush, I'm going to carry it up toward my brow. That's really a nice soft look to combine those colors. Next, I'm going to pat on the gorgeous magenta color called Cha 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 on my outer lid and my outer crease. This is a really stunning color. And then some blending. And as you could see, we went from a very strong color to a really nice soft color when we blended. Next, I'm going to bring in a touch of that beautiful deep blue called Pool Party, and I'm going to put that also on the outer lid and crease. And once again, we're going to do some blending. Since I have really deep set eyes, I have to really push into that crease. Now, as you can see, I still have a little bit of that pinky beige above the blue and the magenta, which is exactly what I want. I want to have a really nice gradation of color. In the center of my lid, I'm going to bring the shimmer called High Season, which is the lightest of the shimmer shades. I'm first going to use a brush to just pat it on, and this gives a softer look. If I want a stronger shimmer, I will use my finger. And I'm going to go ahead and pat it on with my finger just so you can see the difference. I'm going to tap it over the blue just so I blend those two together. And then I'm taking my brush with the blue on it and the magenta, and I'm just going to tap over the edge. I'm going to go ahead and mix the deep blue with the deep brown called Throw Shade for my eyeliner. And as you can see, I'm also adding a little bit of blue on the outer 1/3, and I'm bringing it up to meet the top eyeliner. I'm going to go ahead and apply the mascara later after I finish the other eye. Now let's go ahead and switch to the other eye. There are 3 different Warrior palettes from Juvia's Place. The first Warrior palette is an absolutely gorgeous mix of 6 shimmers and metallics and 3 mattes, a light matte, a mid-tone matte, and a deep brown matte. These are all warm and neutral toned golds, browns, bronzes, russets, white gold, and dark chocolate. They are stunning. These are the top 2 rows of colors, and here's the bottom row. The Warrior 2 palette is an all matte palette, and it has a beautiful combination of light to mid-tone to dark shades, plus some pops of orange, which can really add a touch of pizzazz to a neutral all matte eyeshadow look. Let's go ahead and swatch these colors. These are the first 2 rows. And here are the bottom 3 colors, going from white to a very light beige to a deep black color. It's always helpful in a palette to have both a white and black so you can lighten and darken all the other colors. And the Warrior 3 palette is all about bold colors with 7 mattes and 2 shimmers. Now let me go ahead and swatch the colors from this Warrior 3 palette. And here's the gorgeous rainbow of colors from the Warrior 3 palette. As you saw, these are all bright pops of color, so any of these colors can be combined with the neutrals of the Warrior 1 and 2 palettes for gorgeous looks. Since all the colors in the Warrior 3 palette are pretty much the same intensity, it's more of a challenge to create a look only using the colors from this palette. Since I've already combined some purples and blues in the first look that I did with the Cabana Club palette, I'm going to go ahead in a different direction with this palette. I'm going to go with either the yellow, the blue, or the green, or the yellow and orange. And I think I'm going to go ahead and start with the yellow, mix in a little bit of the blue, and then work in the green. So I'm going to add a little bit of yellow to the crease. And as you can see, it doesn't show up as really a bright yellow. Then I'm going to mix in a little bit of the green, again to the outer part of the crease and the outer part of the eyelid. And I'm not bringing it up as high as the yellow because I want that yellow to peek through. And then I'm taking the gorgeous blue and putting it on the outer part of the lid and crease. As you can see, when it's blended out, it doesn't come across nearly as strong. And also, I just applied a little bit of these colors. And I'm going to pack on just a little bit more of this blue in the outer corner. And to deepen it up, I'm taking a little bit of the purple as well. And combining a little bit more of the blue and green together. Then I'm going to take a little bit of the light blue-gray in the center, which is a shimmer, and mix it with the blue on the outer edge, which is also a shimmer. And I'm going to put that just in the outer corner of my eye. And I'm going to pat that light blue shimmer over the edge of the darker blue, just so they blend together. And I'm going to take a little bit of this very light white shade and put it on the inner corner of both eyes and right under the arch of the eyebrow. I'm now going to head off camera, add some eyeliner and mascara, and I'll be right back. Well, I'm back with eyeliner and mascara on to give you the final look. And by the way, before we do that, I will say that if you get stumped by what colors to put together for eyeshadow, it's always helpful to take a look at the color wheel, because either colors that are opposite each other, which are complementary colors, or colors that are next to each other, which are analogous colors, can always look beautiful. And let me show you the color chart to see how that worked for us today. I'm sorry this reflects so much, but at the top you can see yellow, and if you look to the left, that moves into green and then into blue and then into purple. And then on the right, for the warmer colors, you're moving from yellow to light peach to orange to reds. And now let's take a final look at these two eyes. Well, that's it for today, and thank you so much to those women who provided such great tips. And as I mentioned earlier, if any of you have tips you'd like to share, I'd certainly love to hear them. Until next Thursday, I wish you good health and happiness and hope you have a really fabulous rest of your day. Take care.